We had a couple events downtown this weekend, most notably the Victoria Music or Electronic Music Festival and the Symphony Splash. So we had some large crowds this weekend for both of those events. The Symphony Splash ran Sunday night in the Inner Harbour, and we had an estimated crowd of about 45,000 people. So at the Symphony Splash there were actually no problems to report. It was a very family-friendly, family-oriented event, and everybody seemed to enjoy themselves. The Victoria Electronic Music Festival was held both Saturday and Sunday at Centennial Square, and we had estimates of the crowd in excess of about 5,000 people at that event. So last year we had, as you can recall, quite a few problems at that event, but this year we worked with the new organizer and the city to ensure a more successful and safe event. We doubled our police presence, instituted bag checks with the on-site security, and the site was fenced off, and there was an entrance fee. So all of those combined led to a much more pleasant event, and we only had 2 arrests for intoxicated in a public place and 1 fight. So we're certainly encouraged by the results, and we're looking forward to continue to work with the organizers in future years.
So what was, can you say roughly, if you doubled the police presence, how many officers were there any dedicated to that specific event?
Yes, they were dedicated to that event. Matt, do you recall how many were at that event specifically? 5? Okay, yeah.
Any issues with underage drinking or underage drug use?
Not that we noticed, no.
Why fencing it off? Why does that make it more successful in terms of problems?
Well, that allows for a proper entrance and exit from the location, so it's not just a mass of people crowding into the event. So you're able to have security and police on hand there to mitigate any problems and just keep an eye on what's going on.
So with the bag checks at the entry point, was there a lot of alcohol being poured out at that point, or were people just not even bringing it to the area?
I'm not sure. That was done by the private security that was hired by the event, so I'm not sure what the results of that was.
So there was security and police present?
Yes, both private security and police there.
Was private security done last year with the...
No, private security wasn't. All right, we have an update from yesterday. The Greater Victoria Emergency Response Team and the crisis negotiators were activated early Monday morning and arrested a violent offender at an apartment block in the 2600 block of Prior Street. We ended up arresting a 37-year-old Victoria man who has a history of violent offenses. Cahun Walsh, Cahun Walsh, surrendered to police around 10:30 a.m., hours after barricading himself inside the suite. So we attended the residence at 4 a.m. to arrest the man for uttering threats after we were called there about 1:30 in the morning. The incident had occurred earlier in the morning, and Walsh was also in a violent, The incident occurred earlier that morning, and Walsh was also in violation of several bail conditions, including a no-go to the residence. Police were just at that residence a week ago dealing with him as well. At that time, Walsh kicked in an apartment door and had threatened people inside. That time he was charged with mischief and forcible entry. At the time, he was arrested without incident, but in cells he became aggressive and assaulted our jail sergeant. He's also facing a charge of assault police officer. So due to yesterday's incident, he's facing a charge of uttering threats and 4 counts of breaching his recognizance. And we're certainly grateful to the neighbors and the citizens around for their patience and understanding while we dealt with this incident.
So how long did the standoff last?
We were there from about 4 in the morning till 10:30. The initial call came in about 1:30, and our officers were investigating. And after that, tried to make contact with Mr. Walsh to get him to exit the suite. That's when he refused, so we applied for a warrant.
Was there ever concerns of weapons within the residence?
No, we had no information that there's weapons in the residence, but he does have a history of violent offenses, and especially with the recent offense, of kicking down somebody's door and assaulting one of our sergeants, we certainly wanted to make sure that public safety was taken care of.
So it's not the kind of situation where officers would just, make their own forced entry into the residence to arrest him.
Right. If we see somebody in the residence and there's no immediate concern for public safety, we have to make sure that we're taking the proper steps. So that means we close down the area and we apply for what's called a Fini Warrant. That allows us to go into the residence and arrest somebody who we've determined that is arrestable on a criminal charge.
So the residents of the suite, like, was it determined to be some sort of targeted home invasion that he knows that?
No, we don't believe that was a home invasion. A dispute between a couple people there. I can't get into a lot of specifics about it, but no, we don't believe that it was a home invasion.
And the residents weren't home at the time, or they weren't home?
They were home at the time of the last incident on Friday, I believe that was. Sunday, sorry. Sunday. Previous Sunday, thank you.
Okay, but they weren't home on Monday?
No.
Did he live at that area, or that apartment at one point? Or
He
just
did,
knew the
yes.
people?
He did live there,
Like how recently?
very recently.
Like, was he living there at the time when he kicked the door down?
He didn't kick the door of the suite that he was staying in. It was another suite that he was. So, and yes, he was staying in.
So it was a no-go to the whole building?
Right.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw the pictures, but it's a small little block of a building, so. Yeah.
So is he in custody right now?
He is in custody. He's going to, I think it's morning court he was scheduled for, so I don't have the results of it, but I believe he was scheduled for this morning. All right, we have a man arrested for an indecent act in the Hillside neighborhood. So police arrested a 65-year-old man on Sunday night who was openly masturbating in the 2900 block of Shakespeare around 9:30 p.m. The complainant called us and stated that the man was approaching people and houses on the street and exposing himself. He refused to cease when asked and was moving along. When police arrived, he decided to flee and ran into the rear yard of a home. He was apprehended when he was trying to hide inside a garage at that residence. The 65-year-old man was arrested after a brief struggle. We're recommending charges of committing an indecent act and of mischief. The man provided that he suffers with mental health problems and that he has done this many times before. He was assessed by the Integrated Mobile Crisis Response Team at the time. And the insert team will continue to work with the man and see the case through the mental health court system.
Has he been arrested for similar incidents in the past?
No, he hasn't.
What time did this happen?
We got the call about 9:30, I believe.
Does he live in the area or was
Does live in the area, yes.
on his own?
No, not on his own.
Like with family or mental health?
I don't want to get into specifics of it, but
Were there like any threats to children or?
no, no information that he was threatening children or anything like that.
And any word on approximately how many individuals or homes he had approached?
No, we don't. We had one caller for sure that had approached him and asked him to move along, but he didn't, and certainly called us. And so we're glad that he did. We're able to, in cases like this, especially with mental health at play, we get these calls and we're able to deal with them. We have the IMSERT team as a resource for us, so it's good that they called. Now we have this person, we've identified them, we're able to get them the help they need through the mental health court systems, the support through the IMSERT team. So really, it's in a roundabout way, it's a very, very good thing that's happened because we're able to get him that support.
Was he kind of apologetic to police?
He did seem apologetic, yes. He was aware of what he had done and seemed to be aware that it was wrong, but was talking to us about it. All right. A 59-year-old woman was among those arrested in a recent drug roundup on the 900 block of Pandora. So 5 drug dealers were nabbed in a 2-day initiative dubbed Project Morrison. The project occurred Thursday and Friday of last week. It was initiated after receiving a complaint from a resident about the increase in open drug dealing in the neighborhood. So VicPD's Focus Enforcement Team and our Strike Force section used undercover operators to carry out this project. We did several drug buys during those 2 days. So during that time, our undercover operators bought drugs from several drug dealers. 3 of these drug dealers have been arrested, including the 59-year-old Adeline Bailey. It's Adeline Bailey, Bailey. 31-year-old Colin Turlock, Colin Tulloch, and 29-year-old Brian Thompson. I was just informed, actually, that Mr. Tulloch was held for telebail, sorry. He was released with a no-go to the 900 block of Pandora and was recently arrested this morning in the 900 block of Pandora. So these 2 men, Mr. Tulloch and Thompson, very well known to police, but this is the first time we have dealt with Bailey and the first time she's been charged. All 3 are due in court this week for charges of trafficking and possession of a controlled substance. 2 other drug dealers are currently being sought on outstanding warrants.
So did 2 others have charges against them?
Yes, they do. We've requested warrants in both those cases and we're out looking for them.
Were there any charges added to Tulloch for breaching the no-go condition?
We'll have to see what comes out of today, but I was given a call about 20 minutes before we came in here, so.
Did you seize any drugs at all from them?
Yes, we did seize drugs during the investigation. I don't have exact numbers or anything like that.
Any weapons?
Not that I'm aware of.
When was the last big roundup was May? Is that
It was
May?
in May, yeah.
The Cinco de Mayo?
Cinco de Mayo
Yeah.
was in May, yeah. And that was a larger project. We had, military personnel, we had, more members of Focus Enforcement Team, Strike Force. So certainly the numbers were bigger there, but this, unique circumstance with a 59-year-old woman arrested and a couple others that just don't seem to get it. All right, so we're looking for a suspect in a mugging that happened in Esquimalt over the weekend. So we're asking for the public's assistance in locating a suspect involved in an Esquimalt mugging. The incident happened around 7:30 p.m. at Victor Brodeur's school at 637 Head Street. A 19-year-old man was there shooting basketball by himself on the courts when the suspect stopped his car at the school and joined the teen on the basketball court. And the teen was initially leery of the man, but when asked to pass the basketball over, he did. When that happened, the suspect then threw the ball back in the teen's face. And the assailant then took the victim's sports bag, which contained, the assailant then took the victim's sports bag, which had been sitting under the hoop. It contained the victim's wallet, some cash, and his phone. The victim protested, but the suspect further threatened him by stating that he had a gun, but none was produced. The suspect is described as a white man between the ages of 17 and 18 years old, approximately 5'7", with a medium build. He is further described as scruffy looking, possibly with acne on his cheek and nose. At the time of the robbery, he was wearing a black toque with a very long t-shirt and baggy shorts. The suspect sped away in his car, which is described as a maroon-colored sedan, eastbound on Old Esquimalt Road. Several units were dispatched to the area, including members of the West Division Bike Squad. At that time, we were unable to locate the male. The file has been forwarded to our youth detectives who will be following up, and they're also based in Esquimalt and know many of the local kids. Anyone with information is asked to contact the VicPD non-emergency line at 250-995-7654 or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS 8477.
So how many people were playing basketball there?
Just the one.
Oh, just one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Was there a dog team sent out at all?
There was a dog. There was a canine unit sent to the scene.
So bike squad and canine unit?
Yeah. During the summer, the school resource officers are now working as basically a West Division bike squad. So they were in the area already. They were sent, as well as the canine and numerous patrol units.